Do you think using that term can delegitimize people who may actually have genuine concerns about their rights and, want to protect them?
The state of Canada right now is unreal. Welcome back to Muslim Loose. My name's David. Today we've got a group of liberals protesting against Mark Carney. That's right. That's what's happening here. Not only that, we've had multiple different groups come together to form a big group to protest Mark Carney outside his office. We got more leftist mainstream media pushing woke propaganda and nonsense. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Mark Carney getting caught again in another fake photo op, this time in Mexico.
Signing of a strategic partnership with President Claudia Sheinbaum. The pact aims to deepen economic and security ties between Canada and Mexico. Before leaving Mexico City, Carney visited a local rail yard used by Canadian Pacific. The partnership deal with Mexico includes a plan to build infrastructure projects like ports and energy corridors. It also proposes cooperation on tackling transnational crimes such as drug smuggling. The partnership was prompted by uncertainty over Donald Trump's trade war. The CBC's Evan Dyer is...
So as we saw there, these bags of wheat. Wheat doesn't get shipped in bags like this. This is all fake photo op. This is all staged. As we've got Dean posting this, not a single Canadian journalist who was there said a word about Mark Carney, Mexico, and this wheat bag hoax. Got the food professor saying we do not ship wheat in bags to Mexico. These Trudeau-era photo ops need to stop, and the media should start calling them out for what they are, empty stunts that make them look foolish. It's all a facade with Mark Carney. That's all this is. Smoke and mirrors. I don't think Carney cares. So far, he has seen he can get away with everything. Lies, evasion, sagging elbows. Yeah, I mean, this guy's so conflicted. He's getting enriched. He's made millions of dollars off of being prime minister, and just nobody seems to care. Obviously, all of us here do on the right, but nobody in the government, nobody in the media, and all the leftists don't care that he's enriching himself. Oh, he's a greedy banker, globalist. Yeah, just let him make millions off of our backs. No problem. Moving ahead, we've got Anne Brandt pointing this. Coming from the Hill Times. Are we fascist yet? And we wonder why we hear people chanting this stuff in the streets. There's propaganda being spread all over Canada. Canadian political establishment mourns fascist Charlie Kirk fueling far-right blacklist rampage. We got this one on the Globe and Mail. By staying true to itself, Canada is ducking the hard-right surge. Thought this was interesting here, and originally posted by Tim Poole. It says, showing the political crimes, Democrats on the left with 21,765. This is in America. Republicans 858. Who's the one that's dangerous here? We also got this one. The government is preparing to address H and terror symbols used in public by making it a crime. So this came out. We've got Sean Fraser trying to change the laws because people are getting ended. There's town grapists running around, gangsters, goons, and goblins, home invasions, carjackings, you name it. Sean Fraser trying to deflect these awful liberal policies that are ending Canadian lives.
That was Justice Minister Sean Fraser today talking about legislation that the Liberal government has tabled, which would amend the criminal code to target hate crimes. Now, here are the new offenses that would be created. Make it a crime to make someone afraid of accessing religious or cultural institution. There would also be a crime to obstruct or interfere with access to a similar institution. The legislation would also make hate-motivated crime a specific offense. Lastly, it would be a crime to willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group by displaying hate symbols in public. Now, this is the first of 3 justice reforms the Liberal government has signaled that it will be tabling. Fraser says bail reform is coming next month, and it also comes a day after Conservative Frank Caputo tabled a private member's bill which would make murder of an intimate partner first-degree murder. So what does this say about the Carney government and where they are going in this fall session? Let's ask the front bench. We got Sabrina Grover, Melanie Paradis, and Carl Belanger. Now, Melanie, Pierre Poilievre has been talking about being tough on crime for months now. So what does it say to you that the Liberals are moving on it now?
Well, it definitely says that they want to stop Pierre Poilievre's moves on the board. They want to take these chips off, the chess piece off the board from Pierre Poilievre, because he's very effective when it comes to crime. And this is an issue set that he certainly is strong on. But folks who've watched the show for a long time will know that I'm deeply cynical. And while I think that this move on hate crime is incredibly necessary, we've seen a huge rise in Islamophobia and certainly anti-Semitism, tremendous rise in that. So we definitely need to make a move on this. But the timing is a bit suspicious to me. And I'm forced to remember that last year, the Liberals lost in the by-election, Toronto-St. Paul, which is a riding with a very large Jewish population, because of this issue. They're coming up to a by-election that they're going to have to call in University of Rosedale, which is the next riding over for Chrystia Freeland. And so I have to think that that was one of the motivators in putting this forward right now.
I think that's spot on. So what's happening here? University of Rosedale, Chrystia Freeland's riding in Toronto. They're doing this whole smoke and mirrors thing, looking like they're doing something, but they're not. They're not going to change anything. But what's interesting about the by-election is you notice that none of the Liberals were criticizing Pierre Poilievre about his by-election, wasting money, whatever it is, $1 million, $2 million to run a by-election, because guess what? This was in the works the entire time. Mark Carney knew that he had to run with all these Liberals that he didn't like, but he needed them to get elected. And once elected, now he's kicking them out the door, and he's going to have by-election after by-election. We've got confirmed Bill Blair is out the door, David Lametti out the door, Chrystia Freeland out the door. So there will be a couple of by-elections here. And if Stephen Guilbeault out the door, that rumor is there. Karina Gould potentially, Anita Nand. How many Liberals is Mark Carney going to kick out? Then have by-election after by-election after by-election, $2 million apiece. No wonder the Liberals didn't criticize Pierre Poilievre's by-election. I'm sure Mark Carney told them, because he knew this entire time that Chrystia Freeland was just a stand-in to get that seat, and then she could move on. You've got to remember, Mark Carney's the godfather to one of Chrystia Freeland's sons. They're practically family, so they worked this out from the start. But Mark Carney's got other problems here, aside from all the anger mongers in the street, because there's other groups that are now grouping up with the anger mongers and going at Carney at his office in Ottawa.
A large protest here in the capital this morning as part of a national movement called Draw the Line. Protesters marched through the streets, pushing back on Prime Minister Mark Carney's government agenda. CTV's Natalie Van Roy was outside Parliament Hill today for the demonstration and joins us now live in studio with more. Natalie.
Kimberly, the Ottawa Police Service says 2 people were arrested for mischief following the protest, and there was also a large mural painted outside the Prime Minister's office that read "People, Peace, Planet, not profit."
So interesting. 2 people arrested for mischief. Are they going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in court? Or is it only Canadian citizens with Canadian flags that protest the government's wasteful spending, lockdown mandates, all this kind of stuff? We know the answer.
United will never be defeated. The people.
Liz Deacon and Carol Sulphur are seniors passionate about climate justice.
We want the federal government to work harder at some of these issues that need to be addressed and not just pay lip service.
The group, part of a large
These people are all just completely clueless.
protest called Draw the Line that moved through the downtown streets of Ottawa on Saturday.
Here for, as they say on some of the posters, people, peace and planet, and certainly all the combinations of the different groups that are represented here.
And that's why their flags are green and red, because they're grouping up with Palestinian protesters.
A rally against Prime Minister Mark Carney's government priorities ahead of the fall budget.
It started out as a climate rally, but we realized that we need to build a much larger coalition. So it's about bringing in people who are standing in solidarity with Palestine. It's about bringing in people who are standing up for peace in the face of a potential quadrupling of military spending.
The rally started outside the Prime Minister's office on Wellington Street before moving to the U.S. Embassy and the Human Rights Monument.
So this started off peaceful and then it became quite aggressive. And most definitely all of these people are NDP space cadets. So they won't be voting for Mark Carney again. If Mark Carney calls an election in the near future here, he's going to lose all of these people, which just directly helps the Conservatives.
Speakers set up as the crowd cheered on.
The public sector continues.
Similar marches were held across the country in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Edmonton.
It's about cuts to public services and opposing the austerity agenda that's been announced, and it's about migrant justice. So the idea is to build a coalition of all the groups working on those different issues.
Protesters also painted a large mural in front of the Prime Minister's office that read "People, Peace, Planet, not profit. Peace, Planet, not profit."
That's not a mural. That's called graffiti, and that's against the law.
Organizers said the paint is washable.
We started out at Mark Carney's.
It doesn't matter if this is washable. What if somebody drives down the street and they can't see the street lines because all this is on there? They hit somebody and end that person's life. Then what? That's the problem here. You can't have these lunatics painting this crap all over the street. United will never be defeated. Those are friendly words, aren't they? This is so friendly, isn't it? Look at this comment coming from an American. Your government is conspiring with criminals to create chaos and distract you from them becoming full-blown authoritarian communists. Yep. Ding, 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 we've got a winner. A man received a $180 ticket for flying a Canadian flag near the Parliament buildings. Yeah, but that's no problem. We got this one from Chris Stacey on the scene here.
Ottawa police have been overrun here and Wellington Street has been taken again. Wild scene here in front of the Prime Minister's office. Wild scene.
We've literally got people with war drums outside the Prime Minister's office. At what point is this not acceptable? Like, this is ridiculous. And I'm not defending Mark Carney. He shouldn't be Prime Minister, but it doesn't matter. Any Prime Minister up there shouldn't have people with war drums outside the office, spray painting the streets, and the police do nothing. They made 1 arrest. 2 arrests, they said, for mischief. Are they going to be charged or they'll just be released? Because they didn't have Canadian flags, so better not charge those people.
Police
Yeah, this looks really friendly, doesn't this? Start hitting the war drums and the crazies start coming out. This has got to the point where the police don't feel safe, so they're backing up.
Ottawa police have now retreated onto the sidewalk.
We need to fix our country. Those Liberal supporters have to stop voting for this. Like, seriously, guys, it's time to fix this crap.
Wild scene in front of the Prime Minister's office. Wild scene here in front of Carney's office. Police have been pushed out of the street. Ottawa police severely outnumbered.
WTF are they protesting Carney for? He's their guy. So they don't like that he's brought in this austerity budget, this all sorts of things he's stealing from Pierre Poilievre. That's why they're mad. And this really the stupidity of this. The Carney government has been giving a bunch of money, millions of dollars, things like $6 million to Gaza since he got elected. He's trying to roll out his net zero agenda. Like, these people are too stupid to know what's going on. In other news, did you know that Trudeau made it legal for the media to lie to you? The Liberals manipulate your thoughts and the CBC is the biggest liar. What we've got here is an example of before and after. So there used to be a law here. It says everyone who willfully publishes a statement, tale or news that he knows is false and causes or is likely to cause injury or mischief to public interest is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. And then Trudeau comes in, it's repealed, gone. It's just a mural, right? Just a mural.
His office, he's announced billions in cuts to the public sector while announcing the quadrupling of military spending, while continuing to ship arms that end up contributing to the assault on Gaza.
Police said 2 people were arrested for mischief in connection to the painting. Wellington Street was closed for the cleanup.
These people don't realize that a strong military is what keeps our country safe. If Russia comes over here, are they going to step up to the front lines and fight? I don't think so. They don't understand the math of anything. They just want more health care, more government programs, but get rid of those oil pipelines. Don't want to be bringing in extra tax dollars to pay for all that stuff. Moving over to global news, listen to this report on extremism.
Extremism has become a major topic of discussion in recent years, as it appears more people on both sides of the political spectrum are becoming radicalized. Now, with tensions and division reaching what sometimes can feel like a boiling point, David Hoffman, director of the Criminology and Criminal Justice Program at the University of New Brunswick, joins us now.
So just note here, they said on both sides. So I was optimistic when I first started watching this. It goes downhill pretty quickly here.
What do you think is dangerous about sort of conflating the two terms of nationalism and extremism?
That's a good question. They like you said, they get used interchangeably very, very often. You can be nationalist without having it be a bad word. However, just with the political climate over the last 10 years or so, it's become almost synonymous with extremism. I think probably the best example I can think of is what happened during the convoy with waving of the Canadian flags. I remember looking around at that time and seeing Canadian flags on people's cars at the time, and I would think, oh, that's a bad form of nationalism. But now that symbology has changed. If you see Canadian flags now outside of that context, it's not necessarily associated with extremism. So the point I'm trying to
Yeah, because the Elbows Up movement decided they want to be patriotic Canadians, and now it's okay to wave the flag, but not back then. No, no, no.
Make here is it's fluid, but again, with how it's working at this time, the two are often conflated.
What's ridiculous too, that guy who got a $180 fine for waving a Canadian flag at Parliament. But if it was during a pride parade or a Palestinian protest, I don't know why they'd have a Canadian flag there. But if they did, there wouldn't be any charges. We have two-tier policing in Canada.
All right, and David, the term dog whistle is another one that's thrown around quite a bit and has been thrown around in recent years quite a bit. Can you explain what an example of this would be and how it can actually impact people's behaviors?
So dog whistles are coded language or obfuscated language meant to sound innocuous, to sound innocent while actually trying to share something more nefarious. So they're actually, here in Canada, our far-right extremists, what they tend to do is import ideas, concepts, and extremist ways of life into Canada, but what they do is they'll Canadianize them. So they'll take things like guns rights, and then they'll turn it into a dog whistle by saying the right to protect ourselves by removing the guns aspect, which is less palatable here in Canada. Dog whistles can also include things.
This guy's ridiculous. So he's saying pew pew rights to protect yourself. That's extremism. The home invaders coming in, they have the right to completely annihilate us. No need for pew pews. Just let them walk all over us. You want to defend yourself? That's extremism. Far right extremism.
It's like racist statements that again are meant to be toned down in order to appeal to a greater mass.
So you used an example there of a dog whistle and guns. Do you think using that term can delegitimize people who may actually have genuine concerns about their rights and, want to protect them, so it can be, say, problematic by then feeding into people perhaps eventually becoming more extreme?
This is actually a problem in my field of study. Radicalism, which is often synonymous with extremism, isn't necessarily a bad thing. We as a society need radicals in order to change things for the better. The first feminists and the first people fighting for women's rights were radicals. However, at the same time, there's radicals who are more of what we think of as your typical extremists. These are individuals who, a better way of saying this, are violent radicals. So with the dog whistle thing, the dog whistling activities that the far right engage here in Canada aren't necessarily violent in their rhetoric, but they're meant to introduce people to these ideas, which are then progressively introduced to violent ideas by the small minority of individuals who want to engage in violence for far-right extremism.
This is garbage. This is complete trash. So the one example of leftist extremism is feminism. It's here to help the world. Newsflash, feminism was invented by bankers to get women to go to work and pay taxes. These leftists got used back then. They're getting used now and they don't even know it. It's just unbelievable they put this crap on television on a daily basis. In other news, we've got Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand will not tell Parliament what groups her department is financing in Gaza. Anand invoked confidentiality in refusing a request by one MP to detail who has received taxpayers' aid under the little-known Canada Fund for Local Initiatives. Are they funding terror lords? Probably. That's why they don't want to tell us. Otherwise, why would they hide it? And we've got this one here. Ryan Gerritsen putting together a big collage. The media is responsible for most of this radicalization of individuals against public figures they don't like. The dangerous rise of Pierre Poilievre. Trudeau will not leave Canada in Poilievre's hands. Pierre Poilievre's callous courting of Canada's deplorables. Pierre Poilievre needs to cool down his angry mob before someone gets hurt or worse. Do we need to go back to this chart that shows the left is the one who does all of the dangerous, angry attacks? Pierre Poilievre remains a preferred leader for Conservatives, but not Canadians. Pierre Poilievre is Canada's most dangerous, appalling politician. This is all trash. These people should be ashamed of themselves. They're helping destroy Canada. They know they're doing it. They get their cushy paycheck. They're throwing all of us under the bus. And we've got some of them here. Rebel News posting this. This Charlie Kirk vigil.
No fear! Fascists are not welcome here! No hate, no fear! Fascists are not welcome here! No hate, no fear! Fascists are not welcome here!
So at one of these events, somebody asked them, define a fascist. They couldn't do it. They don't know what that means. These people are brainwashed. They have no idea what they're saying. I like this here. Dre Humphrey from Rebel News says she gave one of them a hug. Best part of my evening. Love is the best weapon when they are misguided. Yep. I mean, we're in a pretty bad situation when we have the anti-H-word network here getting funds from the government, from taxpayers. And you have this guy here who works there, Evan Balgord, says Canadian government should control social media algorithms. This is draconian, socialist, communist nonsense we don't want in our country.
But what we can do is, if we put in this rules against hate content, right, we can get our allies to follow suit. We're already kind of in conversations with the UK, Australia, a few other places, kind of talking about coordinating our approach to Facebook and other social media companies. So if enough countries come forward with these kind of rules and regulations, Facebook will have to apply them more broadly. Like they'll have to invent, like they have the ability to do this, right? I mean, they're a very smart company, but they'll have to like turn on that kind of content moderation and the algorithms and figure out, they have to make that system work when there's a few countries that are requiring it of them, right?
This guy's advocating for quelching free speech. Facebook already censors our news, and this guy wants to make it worse. This guy funded by the government.
I'm also pushing. I doubt it'll make it into the government's bill, but I think that, it's something we have to seriously consider, is if they do not pay their fines, if they do not follow the laws as written by our country, at what point do we turn the tap off on them, right? And just how difficult is that going to be to do politically? Can we allow this giant company that doesn't follow our laws to operate in our country if they're doing so in like a discriminatory manner?
This guy wants to just outright ban Facebook. Now, I don't make a living. I don't make any money on Facebook, but I know people do. He just wants to ban an entire platform that people use for their businesses, social media, baked goods, whatever it may be. Let's just ban the whole platform and destroy all these Canadian businesses with no thought. What an idiot. And just so I'm bringing the receipts here, Canadian Anti-H-Word Network, $141,700. This is back in 2021, 2022. We go back, there's another one here, $126,700. 2020, 2021. The Liberal government is funding what's coming out of this guy's mouth.
Do we have the stomach to shut him down? One thing that's also not being discussed nearly enough in the context of this is, we're talking about the big platforms. So that's the most important thing to talk about. It is, because that's where hate reaches everyday normal people, right? Thanks in part to things like Facebook's algorithm. But what about the smaller platforms that are specifically designed to host hate speech, by which I mean DLive, BitChute, Gab, and there's a myriad of other smaller ones, right? These companies.
This guy wants to ban everything. We're going to go back into the Stone Age. Is that what we're doing here?
Why would we have any faith that they're going to either pay our fines or follow our rules or anything like that? They're not going to, right? So we need to be talking about things like international criminal sanctions for people who are purposely flaunting our law.
We need to talk about defunding this network and not promoting reducing free speech in Canada. Prohibiting them from importing hate propaganda into Canada, by which I mean blocking the IP address of their site from, Canadian internet companies, right? This guy is insane. I can't believe we have people like this in our country. We need absolute power over everything so we can guarantee free speech. Yep. This is what actual fascism looks like. This person not only thinks he's better than you, but he's willing to go full dictator to control you. His arrogance, he thinks he knows better. He wants the power to control everything here. What people see, what people can read. Get rid of the companies he doesn't like.